welcome to the Retrofits webinar. My name is Melanie Johnston, and I just wanted to welcome everybody for joining us on such a beautiful evening. So for those of you who don't know us, EnviroCentre is a nonprofit environmental organization based here in Ottawa, and our core mission supports sustainable lifestyles, which means that we encourage people to take action on climate in their own lives, in their homes, their workplaces and businesses, their communities, and right here in our city. Our work focuses on 4 key areas: green homes, green transportation, green business, and green lifestyle. And today we're here to talk about the Green Homes Ottawa in Ottawa, through our Future Homes Ottawa pilot project. Future Homes Ottawa is a neighborhood retrofit project currently running in 2 pilot neighborhoods, Carlington and Old Ottawa South. So by sharing practical information and helpful resources for homeowners looking to take action to improve the energy efficiency of their homes, Future Homes Ottawa provides dedicated support for folks interested in planning a home retrofit project or simply learning more. So I'd like to thank the EnviroCrew from Old Ottawa South, and specifically Ingrid, who's invited us here to present today and has co-hosted the event. Before we get started, just a few logistical notes. Please note that this session is being recorded and shared online after the event. If you wouldn't mind keeping yourself muted during the presentation so that everyone is able to hear the speakers. And you can pop any questions you have into our chat. We will be monitoring the questions, so feel free to type them in there and we'll bring them forward for a Q&A period following the presentation, or live questions as time allows. So once again, welcome to everyone in our audience. I'm also joined today by Chris Habets of Good Habits, and he's going to be my technical expert, as he always is, and able to answer all of the technical questions. But if you need to know anything about, administration, feel free to tap me. I'm going to attempt to share my screen now. We'll see how that goes, and we will go through a presentation that we've created that kind of covers retrofits and what we're talking about as part of this pilot project. So. All right. Chris, you want to give me a heads up if you can see my screen?
We can see it and it looks good.
Great, beautiful. Okay, now if I could just make it work. Good. So EnviroCentre, our mission is to provide people, communities, and organizations with practical solutions to lighten their environmental impact in lasting ways. And our vision is dramatic reductions in greenhouse gas emissions that are achieved through inspired environmental action and positive change. That's a lot about me. I will not read all of that, but I've been with EnviroCentre since 2009. I am the Director of Energy Programs, so I manage all of our programs that have to do with home energy conservation. I have worked on many different projects, a lot of them having to do with energy audits. So I myself have been responsible for training over 40 energy advisors and 10 retrofit contractors. And I specifically have worked in education and outreach to households in Ontario and have provided what says like almost 10,000 retrofits and helped to save over 9 million cubic meters of natural gas. It sounds like a lot, but I don't do it all, obviously. And then Chris is a professional engineer with a degree in sustainable and renewable energy engineering from Carleton University. He's a certified energy auditor, an NRCam home energy advisor, a lead B&D professional, and runs an HVAC engineering firm. I love this part of his bio. Unofficially, he is a certified energy nerd, enjoying spending his spare time optimizing his family's, and his friends' homes for energy efficiency. So thanks again for joining us, Chris. All right, so what is Future Homes Ottawa? The Future Homes Ottawa pilot project is Ottawa's first neighborhood retrofit project and is currently running in Carlington and Old Ottawa South. So EnviroCentre received a grant through the Ottawa Climate Action Fund to launch phase 1 of this pilot project, which is going to test a whole bunch of different approaches, outreach and engagement. And what we're hoping to do is identify, we'll be delivering energy audits, and we hope to identify some demo homes that might be interested in showing off how their homes can get to net zero. So this project will support the creation of the neighborhood demonstration projects, where residents can learn from their neighbors about planning a deep retrofit project, where to start, how to succeed, and what you gain. So today we're going to cover why we need to retrofit, the types of retrofits, steps to get there, and how Future Homes Ottawa, can help. So why? In April of 2019, the City of Ottawa declared a climate emergency. At that time, they developed a group called Energy Evolution, and they have set aggressive reduction of greenhouse gas emissions target. That's not worded properly, but they have set a very aggressive target. They want to do that through existing homes, new homes, transportation, and waste. So existing homes make up 45% of Ottawa's GHG emissions, and 27% of the dwellings in Ottawa need to be retrofitted by 2030 to be able to achieve our targets. 98% of those dwellings to be retrofitted by 2050, which really is not that far away when you think about the number. We're talking to the tune of well over 350,000 homes in the city of Ottawa that need to be retrofitted to be able to meet these drastic targets. So types of retrofits. What is a retrofit? It's any home renovation that reduces energy consumption and fossil fuel use. So we'll talk about things like basic retrofits, deep retrofits, net zero ready, and net zero. And basic seems always a silly word for me because I think nothing is too basic and they all have to be done. So when we do talk about basic, I like to think about it as conservation first. So really what we're trying to do is reduce how much electricity we use, because at some point we're going to ask everybody to move on to electricity or renewables for their heating and cooling. But if we do that too quickly, we will overload our grid. So we still have to think about conservation. So ways that you can conserve energy in the home would be through doing, say, a lighting retrofit. So reducing all of your light bulbs with LED bulbs, and that can reduce your energy use by about 70%, 75% in your lighting. Replacing appliances with things like Energy Star refrigerators, washers, and dryers. A big one I like to promote are induction stoves. Everyone really likes to cook with those gas stoves because it's awesome and they make for a really enjoyable cooking experience, but induction stoves can provide you with the same experience. By replacing those appliances with Energy Star, you can reduce your energy by about 10 to 15%. And then smart systems are cool in that they learn your behaviors. So they will start to predict, if you're leaving for the day, every day at a certain time, they can start to adjust on their own. The same thing with, when you're going to bed in the evening, you'll turn your heat down and they can come back on again for you in the morning before you even get out of bed. The other nifty thing about that is an actual visual display of your energy use. So you can actually see in real time how much energy you're using. And by utilizing these systems, you can also have an additional 30 to 40% reduction in your energy use. So here I've called them basic and deep because it really depends on how far you want to go. But certainly one of the main things that we encourage folks to do is to tighten the building envelope. And so what that means is adding insulation to your attic, your foundation, your walls, and doing comprehensive air sealing. Not only is it going to make the home more comfortable, what it actually does is ensures that the mechanicals that you end up replacing are right sized for your building. So for instance, if you don't insulate your house and you go to put in some heat pump systems, you may be required to put in a much larger system than if you had insulated your home in the first place. And typically what you're seeing in savings is about a 10 to 25% energy savings by measure per year. So depending on where you're starting from and how far you go with your insulation levels, you can see some great reductions. And again, comfort is key. We like to talk about mechanicals and fuel switching. So again, both a basic and a deep. So I would consider a basic retrofit moving to a more efficient system. Whereas if you're starting to talk about more deep retrofits, you're looking at things like fuel switching and moving to an air sourced or ground sourced heat pump. We're also looking at adding increased ventilation. Now that we've made your home super tight, we definitely want to make sure that we're not affecting the indoor air quality. So we're going to be recommending things like ventilation systems, HRVs and ERVs. So retrofits, net zero ready and net zero. So what is a net zero home? It's a home that produces as much clean energy as they consume. So they are typically about 80% more energy efficient than a typical new home, and they use renewable energy systems to produce the remaining energy they need. So every part of the house works together to provide consistent temperatures throughout, prevent drafts, and filter indoor air to reduce dust and allergens. And if we're going to talk about a net zero ready home, it's all of those things that get you ready before you put your renewables in. So we're still looking at all of the same steps. We need to ensure that we've got the home airtight, that we've got adequate ventilation, that we've got great mechanicals in place, that we've moved off of fossil fuels, and we're ready to put in our renewables. So how to get started with all of this? The best place to get started with is with a home energy assessment. So this is a visit with a registered energy advisor, like somebody like Chris. And our recommendation is to really engage with your energy advisor. Talk to them about the reason that you're having an energy audit, what you're trying to get out of the energy audit, what areas in your home you would like to address, any comfort issues, where you're thinking that you're feeling drafts and leaks, and really things that you're interested in getting more information about. They are a wealth of knowledge. They're going to provide you with an upgrade report, and that is based on your concerns, but also going a little bit further and looking at what else you can do. So outside of what brought you to having the energy audit, we're looking at actually pushing the envelope a little bit and trying to get you folks to move towards that net zero stage or implement deeper retrofits. Once you've had your home assessment and you've received your report, you'll also get an NR guide label, which is national, international, national, North American label. And it basically compares your house against everybody else. And it gives you a rating of sort of how much energy you're currently using. And it's also a nice visual tool. As part of the Future Homes project, we're going to be providing a stepped recommendation report, which is to get you to net zero. So this is specific to this particular project. These would normally be offered at a fee of about $400 to $500, and we're going to toss those in for free when you get your energy audit, so that you can really show you how you can get to net zero in a stepped approach. We don't assume that anybody is going to be moving from zero to net zero in one felt swoop. We're giving you the stepped way to get there so you can begin to implement changes. So getting involved, how can you get involved? Well, 55% of the respondents in the survey that we sent out a few weeks ago, and we had well over 600 respondents. So thanks to everybody who responded to our survey. And 55% of those respondents said that a lack of knowledge around the most effective retrofits was preventing them from retrofitting their home. So again, getting your audit and your full report and your net zero stepped report is going to be able to provide you with that information. 300 of plus of our respondents of the resident engagement survey expressed interest in participating as a demo home. So for the demo homes, what we're looking for, or what we will be providing, is additional support. So that includes things like project planning and coordination, a review of local contractors, and support navigating, financing. So one of the things that EnviroCentre is doing is creating the Better Homes Ottawa website. This will also be a one-stop shop for folks who need information on how to navigate the world or the journey of retrofitting everywhere, everything from how to get an energy audit to what incentives and rebates are available, and then access to additional support like energy coaches, workshops, DIY, all kinds of information, and including the additional support for our demo homes. So what makes a good candidate for a demonstration home? This is a really good question, because a lot of folks have been reaching out to us and are interested, but I think it's really important to let folks know what we're really looking for here. So it really is being willing to implement the measures, some of the measures, to move you towards net zero, some or all, I should say. We'd also like folks to be able to share their journey. So photos, videos, blogs, as we work through our different channels for marketing and providing education to the residents in your communities, we want to be able to share these results. We also want to be able to share, have you share your utility data with us, both pre and post, so that we can actually see the difference that the recommendations that you've implemented have made in your home on your utility bills and your consumption. And of course, we're always after a survey. So if you wouldn't mind, if you were involved in the demonstration home, we would be doing a lot of follow-up surveys. Of course, the big question that everybody has on their mind is, how am I going to pay for all of this? So we've got quite a few options. We've got utility rebates and incentives. So we've got some incentives that are coming from Enbridge Gas that are going to help you with things like upgrading your building envelope, doing some air sealing, maybe looking at your windows and doors. We've got the NRCan Greener Homes program, which will also provide you with incentives for moving on to electricity. So they are not incentivizing any fossil fuel mechanical systems, which is positive. However, the rebates that they are offering would allow you to move on to electricity. They've also got some great grants in there for renewables. And of course, on top of that, the envelope upgrades and all of the other things that we've listed before. And then lastly, the City of Ottawa's Better Homes Loan Program, which we hope to have officially launched. It has been approved by Council. We're just waiting for the last signatures to go through, and we hope to launch that at the end of October. That's a zero interest loan that is tied to your property. That is a 20-year, it's up to 125,000 or 10% of your property values, whichever is the lesser. Minimum loan amount is $15,000 and the payback period is 20 years, although they will accept your money sooner. And that is tied to your sort of property tax. So anybody who's got who's been paying their property tax and their water bills on time would be accepted to have this loan deployed to them. We're getting very close to the end, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So really the only thing we've got left to cover here is our resources. So certainly email futurehomes@envirocentre.ca if you've got questions, if you'd like to participate, if you'd like further information about the project. Certainly any information you're getting from your energy report and conversations with your energy advisor. The brand new Better Homes Ottawa website, which again, we hope to launch by the 25th of October. That should be well underway and have tons of information for you folks. Although there will still be some areas that are under construction. We are waiting to launch our contractor list, but other than that, you'll have all kinds of information on the rebates and incentives, how to get an energy audit, and a guide to actually planning your renovations. The Natural Resources Canada website's got some great information on it as well, if you're willing to dig into that. Certainly speaking with contractors, they should be able to provide information, although we are working with contractors now to further educate them on the benefits of some of the new technologies and moving away from our old fossil fuel systems. And then within our community. So with groups like the EnviroCrew, I think it would be a great place to be able to reach out and share your stories and share information. And so with that, we will open up the floor to questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen if I can find the button. Darren, did we have any questions in the chat? I guess I can have a look here.
Yep, so the first question has come in, and that question is, the Better Homes program is based on the value of your home. Is the MPAC assessment or reality? Is that the MPAC assessment or reality?
That's a good question.
I asked the same question recently to Janice and didn't get an answer back yet. I'm expecting it's MPAC though, which does admittedly cut the loan value from, well, almost in half for my home personally. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question.
Steve, if I hear differently, I will let you folks know.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Good question though. I had the exact same one, obviously. So if I'll send it to Mel when I get the answer.
Good. Julian, you've got your hand up.
Oh, hi there. Thank you for the presentation. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So I'm just curious about the Greener Homes Grant by NRCan, I believe. I'm currently in the process of applying for it. And as far as I understand, at the outset, we're required to do an energy audit. Now, in my particular situation, I don't know how far we're going to be able to go in terms of doing deep energy retrofits. So I guess my question is, if we do an energy audit that identifies many different areas where we would be required to make improvements in our house, but we're only able to do a select few of them, is that still something worth pursuing? And is it possible to kind of target the energy audit to one specific area of the house, or do you need to kind of look at everything all together at once?
Okay, that's a really good question. So when we provide you with your renovation upgrade report, it will be based on your concerns in the areas that you want to address and the grants available. So I always encourage energy audits. I think that they're extremely helpful, whether you're ready to pull the trigger or not. Because of the way that the NRCan program has rolled out, at this time, we actually have to recommend a lot of things, because if you did eventually decide that you wanted to go further, you wouldn't be able to receive any incentives unless we had originally recommended them. That being said, you can do some or none, some, or all of the recommended upgrades that we've provided to achieve a grant. Chris, maybe you can clarify for me if there's a minimum number of measures under greener homes?
For greener homes, you have to do a single measure. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And that measure might get you $125 back, or it might get you $5,000 back. But it's one single measure. And then of course you get the $600 towards your energy audits as well from doing one measure.
Right. So the risk is pretty low in that the majority of the audit cost is reimbursed to you, Julian. So if you were specifically looking at, insulating, for instance, I would certainly go ahead with this program, or if you were looking at doing windows and doors. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for that clarification. I just did have a second question as well. And now I think this is kind of more a question on like what your perspective is on the current status of environmental sustainability and the trends, but I'm just wondering if solar panels are still kind of a big thing, and if that's still like something that you would recommend that we would aspire towards installing, or if the technology has evolved since then.
Oh, well, they're certainly still a thing and still recommended. From an energy auditor standpoint, Chris, can you weigh in on that one?
So what we're supposed to do, I always check the box off for solar panels when I'm doing an energy audit. And I talk with the homeowner about whether or not it's really feasible on the house because of shading or whatever else. The payback period on them in Ontario currently is relatively long, but these grants and the loan program specifically can make that longer payback period make sense. So I do typically end up recommending it to most homeowners to put on their home, if that helps.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I've got a couple questions in the chat that I may as well answer here before they scroll all the way out of the way. So retrofits that are done just before the Better Home Loan Program is launched, will they be eligible? And my understanding is that the invoice date has to be after October 25th when the program launches.
Let's clarify between greener homes and better homes.
This is the Better Home Loan Program.
Okay.
Greener Homes has a bit of a different qualification, but if you're on this webinar now, and you probably are okay there. The Better Homes Loan Program, I believe it's October 25th, the date the invoice has to be on. So the renovation could be done, but if you don't get billed until October 26th, that can count.
You will have also had to have had an energy evaluation prior to any of the retrofits being done. So if that hasn't been done, unfortunately, no, that won't be covered. We do require the energy audit to access any of the incentives and rebates. It's a way that we are able to quantify the results.
Very, very good point. There's been 3 questions on the time limit between pre-audit and post-audit. And Mel, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I've seen a little bit of rumor on it, but right now it's March 2028 effectively. There is no time limit apart from when they're expected to run out of money. So 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Under the utility programs, if you're looking for incentives there, they typically have a 120-day turnaround is what they're expecting, although they're pretty loosey-goosey with their exemptions. For greener homes, yes, I've not seen anything in regards to a time limit. And then on the loan program, there would not be any timeline other than the fact that to access the funding, you kind of have to move at your pace. There's a certain process that you'll have to go through, and you'll obviously want to get your money sooner rather than later. And then the closeout for the loan program would be your follow-up assessment. At that point, your project is deemed complete, and that's when you start making payments back after having received and paid for your retrofits.
And there was a question on time limit, sorry. Oh, the Better Homes Loan Program limits are 10% of your MPAC value is what we believe it is. 20-year interest free, right? That's the current estimate. And the criteria for that is you have to own your home, or well, you have to own the building.
Right.
And you have to have paid your taxes and water on time for the last X number of years. And that's about it. You need to spend $15,000. That's the other one.
Yeah. Okay, so Barb wants to know, she's replacing her foundation, wanted to do a retrofit for her furnace and water heater, but an energy audit would be difficult as right now there is no wall in our basement. Is there a way around that?
So just to clarify, your basement is open to the outside currently? Is that what we mean by there being no wall? Yes, yes it is.
Oh.
That I would have to look it up in the NRCan guide, but I'm pretty sure we cannot do an energy audit with no wall. It would have to be sealed in some way. And it has to be on a permanent foundation, although yeah, that's a complicated one.
Barb, that might be an offline conversation because I'm curious now.
Yeah, yeah, why don't you send us an email there and with some more details, and I'll look it up. I'm curious too. I'd have to look it up though. I don't have a good
Typically speaking though, yes, the building envelope does need to be intact because we're doing a blower door test, which depressurizes the home. And if we've got a big gaping hole in it, we're not going to be able to measure any air leakage, that's for sure.
Yes.
But again, super curious. Can't wait to hear more about the missing basement wall. Okay. Got any more questions from the group? Oh, Steve, you've got your hand up.
I do, and my question is more around timing for one. I do note that it takes quite a while to get a audit scheduled. Obviously, people are very busy and there's a lot of demand for this. So my first part of the question is, how much in terms of funding has the city allocated to the program? In other words, are there going to be 100,000 homes chasing after a small allocated budget, or so it's a race to get the work done? Or do we have a certain amount of flexibility because there's enough money allocated to the program? That's my first question.
Okay, great question. And if I could get 100,000 loans out the door, Steve, boy, would I be happy. We are looking at probably getting, so $12 million is what the city received from FCM, and they've received some supplemental money from Van City. I don't think we're going to run into a shortage. Our target for year one is 150 loans, although if we go over that, that's great. Target for year two would, I think, is 200 to 250 and then up to 400 homes in year three. At that point, the project essentially is deemed complete and the city would be applying for further funds. So we actually have to spend all that money to be able to get more money. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be a real question about running out of funds, at least not in year one and year two. And again, I mean, with a limit of 125,000, we can kind of do the math. If everybody maxed out at the 12 million, we're looking at a significant number of loans. And then for the other programs as well, simply we are actually being asked by a Natural Resources Canada to actually input the grant amounts into our fancy portal. And so that is giving the government basically an idea of how much money is being spent right now in grants. I personally think we could just assume that everybody's getting $5,000 and that would reduce the administrative burden on all around. But I think in their infinite wisdom, they've thought we should itemize these things. And Steve, you touched on the timeline for audits. You are absolutely right. There are a few reasons for that. There was a shortage of registered energy advisors in the field when the program launched. A lot of folks retired after the Eco Energy program. So we are onboarding folks like Chris now and the next generation of energy advisors. So EnviroCentre has on, I think, 5 or 6 additional, and we aim to bring on at least 12 more next year, 12 the following. There are lots of other service organizations. EnviroCentre is one of 2 local service organizations. We are currently booking audits out to January, although we have increased our capacity and probably can backfill some spots. Probably the biggest delay would be actually registering with NRCan. So you are required to register for an EP number. That actually, I think, only takes about, I think you get your number right away, but at that point you're supposed to be waiting for an approval email. We have just started receiving approval emails from folks who registered on May 27th. So we have been proceeding with the energy audits prior to the approval with the assumption that why wouldn't you be approved? And your second question, Steve?
Oh, that's good. That's very good information. Thank you. The second question I had was, I know when I was filling out some of the forms and paperwork, and I don't even remember which program, but they asked, what are the things that you're considering doing for this program? And my answer is, I have no idea. And that's because that's, I think, why I want to get the audit done. So I'm hoping, what do you get from the audit? Do you get a list of recommendations of these are the things that we think you should do for your house?
Yeah, so I'll field that one. The first thing you get is a conversation at the end of the audit. So it takes almost 2 hours to do typically. And the energy advisor will kind of point out as a first pass what they consider probably worth doing and what all the potential rebates are. And then some time frame later, normally a week to 4 weeks, depending on how busy everybody is, you get an ENERCAN report, an ENERGuide report that comes in and says, here's where your house is now, here's where your house could be, and here's the list of upgrades in the order the energy advisor recommends doing them. Or alternatively, the order that would save the most energy first, the second, and that kind of thing. So you don't get costing for those, but you do get amount of energy saved and where you should probably spend your time.
And it's not necessary to do it in the order that the report prioritizes them at. Okay.
It is not. You can do it whatever order you want. If there's something on your report, this is just general info. If there's something on your report that wasn't checked off as a you should upgrade this, but you wanted to, tell your energy advisor pretty much right away so that they can edit it, because you don't get a rebate for it if it wasn't in the initial report.
Thank you.
You raise a good point though, Stephen. Thank you for flagging that. That is, one of the reasons why we're hosting sessions like this and why we've developed the Better Homes Ottawa website, is to get, folks a little bit more familiar with the things that they can do. But prior to my work with EnviroCentre, would have been in exactly the same position you are. I've been like, I don't know, isn't that what I'm paying you folks to come out and do? So it really is, it's a good opportunity to have a conversation. Okay, so Gary wants to know, are items such as new windows and wall insulation eligible for rebates? That's a resounding yes.
Slightly longer answer. You have to make sure they're Energy Star windows, and wall insulation, you have to do a certain percentage of your home and you have to make it to a certain R value, but yes.
Yeah, and those are actually funded through utility programs. They're funded through the Greener Homes program, and they could be supplementarily funded through the Better Homes Ottawa site. So, in my mind, if it's me, and again, I say this all the time, and I do hope my folks at Enbridge understand, but you're going to use your utility money to get that envelope nice and tight and replace your windows and replace your doors and get your $5,000 from those folks. And you're going to register from Greener Homes, and you're going to do some other maybe envelope upgrades and additional things. You're going to do some insulation and some air sealing, and potentially switch over your gas or oil furnace to a heat pump, and you're going to get $5,000, and then you're going to tap into the Better Homes Ottawa loan that's going to get you even further than that.
I don't even have to say if it was me for that. That is exactly what I'm going to be doing in the next few months. So
good, Chris. I'm glad. I'm in the position of actually being a tenant, and so in my particular case, I've got to actually talk my landlord into it, and he would not be eligible for the Greener Homes loan program or the utility programs. He would actually have to be the primary resident here, so he would be somebody that could tap into the Better Homes Ottawa program.
Enbridge, I thought Enbridge covered.
Oh, Enbridge may cover, sorry, yes, but yeah, certainly Enbridge, under Greener Homes, it's got to be your primary.
Greener Homes. Greener Homes is primary residence only.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so would there be visits inside show homes? Well, that would be great if we could coordinate that, if we weren't in a pandemic time, and that would be completely up to the participant. It's not mandatory. Certainly, again, though, the idea of a demonstration home is that folks would be able to have a look at the technology, maybe ask questions about your experience going through the retrofit. That's always a big one is, God, that renovation, what a nightmare. How was it? How did you live through it? And so being able to share those stories. Ideally, yeah, it would be great. Not sure if folks are familiar, but quite a few years ago, EnviroCentre used to run green home tours, and those were very, 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 very popular to showcase different technologies that folks had implemented in their homes. Probably the most popular one that I was on was a solar heated pool, and that was just nifty technology at the time, and really energy efficient. But yeah, if you've got a heat pump and you want to show it off, certainly I don't think you're going to have folks crawling up into your attic to measure your attic insulation and see how great that was done. But it is more to, I think, talk about the experience, the barrier. We're trying to remove barriers, really. How do I register to start the program ASAP? So probably the first step is to go to Natural Resources Canada and search up greener homes. I don't know, Darren, if you're able to put something in the chat or not for that, a link, but definitely going to their website. Okay, great. Is a good place to start, because most likely you're going to want to tap into some of those grants before, even if you're going to go through a loan or anything else. So my suggestion would be to start there. Okay.
The follow-up sort of suggestion to that is start there, get your AP number, and then, especially if you qualify for the Future Homes Ottawa group, email EnviroCentre at futurehomes@EnviroCentre, whatever the email address was there that we shared in the presentation. Because I signed up May 27th and I got my energy audit book, because I can't do my own home for obvious reasons, in mid-December. So there is a delay. And if you reach out to EnviroCentre directly, especially through Future Homes, there's a chance of getting it earlier.
Yeah, Future Homes is actually providing 20 energy audits in each neighborhood at a discounted rate. So you're getting an audit, a $500 audit at $300. And we have spots reserved, and you'll probably see Chris at your audit, because he's one of our energy auditors that is volunteered to be a part of this awesome project and take some of those time slots for us. Ingrid, yes, the information will be on the fabulous new website on October 25th. Thank you for that questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. I see that you've emailed Future Homes on October 3rd and haven't heard back. Well, I'm the boss of those folks, so I'll be looking into that tomorrow morning and making sure. I know we did have a huge backlog of emails, but I will make sure that Evan on my team responds to you for sure. Just going to scroll up, because I think Holly wanted to know, can I talk a little bit more about how many homes in Old Ottawa South might be demonstration homes, what types of retrofits we're hoping to have in these homes and demonstrate, and when you're likely to determine those? So great question, Holly. So the first thing is that we're going to, oh, sorry, you've got your hand up. Did you want to add to that?
No, that's okay. You got it.
Okay, great. Okay, so like I said, step one is to get the 20 energy audits done. At that point, we're going to obviously have a look at those files and see what kinds of upgrades are recommended, what the potential is in the neighborhood. We have an application form that we will be sharing with folks if you are interested in becoming a demonstration home. And the retrofits that we're hoping these home demonstrates are going to be things like heat pumps, for sure. Probably EV chargers would be another great one that we'd like to see as part of this. It's really, some of the cool technologies that are available. Like I said, I think I'm one of the few folks in the city that find insulation incredibly sexy, but it's not, something that a lot of people really want to go and see, and it's kind of hard to see behind the walls and up in your attic. But yeah, definitely things like heat pumps, solar panels, anything green, and hot water is a great place that we can show either on-demand systems or heat pump systems that work with your hot water. Chris, anything else that I'm missing, like off the top of my head?
I was going to make sure the heat pump hot water was in there, but yeah, other than that, like it's really the cool technology, the sexy technology. Heat pumps, heat pump hot water, yeah, the EV charger. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Anything renewable,
yeah,
again.
solar for sure. if somebody has a spray foamed basement that was recently
Yep.
done and not drywalled, that, you know, that can be cool. You can see that, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're also looking at some products with really low embodied carbon, and we'll be doing a workshop on that at the end of November. So there's a really nifty product out of Germany that is a wood fiber insulation that is actually carbon negative, even when it is shipped from Germany. And so we've got some folks that work for that group that are going to come and do some workshops and presentations for us so that we can learn a little bit more about embodied carbon and building materials. Jim wants to know, does a ground source require a certain land area and access for drilling, Chris?
Short answer is yes. The drilling access is kind of the bigger problem for retrofits because you have to get a relatively large drill truck into the backyard generally. It's about the same size as drilling a well. So it's the land area isn't really the big deal. It's more the ability to get access for drilling. There are some cool new technologies coming out that would actually allow you to drill through your basement floor without doing like tearing apart your house or anything like that, which is really neat, but it's not common yet. So short answer is there's a certain land area, but it's more the access for drilling that can be a problem. Yeah.
Okay, good. And then Jason's got a question just for you. He just knows I'm not going to have the answer to that one. Jason's a smart person.
So have you heard of an air source heat pump that can be used to heat hydronic heating system? So that's a radiator system. There are air source heat pumps, or it's air to water heat pumps. There are a few. There's one Canadian made, but I won't specifically mention manufacturers. They don't actually count towards the Greener Homes program, which is kind of sad. And they also don't do cooling generally because you don't, unless you've got a fan coil or something, they won't do cooling. But there are hydronic heating heat pumps available in Canada. Send me an email if you want, Jason, and I'll look up the name of the Canadian manufacturer, but there are a few. Oh, and I guess I should put my email in the chat. Yeah.
You're just as good as Darren with this stuff. Okay, Jeff, thank you. Carlington. Oh, okay, I see now. Here. So Jeff is waiting for our webinar in Carlington and was too excited and had to join the Old Ottawa South. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of repeat action on the Carlington one. I got a spoiler alert there, Jeff. Hey, does anybody else have any questions while we still have, what, about 10 minutes? And if not, that's okay.
If not, I have a question that I wish was asked. Can I throw it out there?
Are you going to answer?
I will answer it too, yes.
Okay.
What I get from a lot of homeowners, there's kind of two questions. What's going to be the biggest dollar savings and what's going to be the biggest greenhouse gas savings? And those are typically two different answers, unfortunately, I guess. The greenhouse gas savings is almost always going to be switching from oil or gas to a heat pump. But pretty much every time, that's where the greenhouse gas savings are going to be. Biggest cost savings is much harder to predict. It could be windows, it could be just air sealing. I say just because it's an easier renovation. It could be insulating your walls, so that gets more complicated. But in terms of greenhouse gas, your heat pump, instead of burning things, is where you're going to see the best savings. I just needed that question asked, so there we go.
Appreciate that question because it is a good question and we do get that question a lot. So, okay, all right. We got any other specific questions? Any plugs? Anything else we want to cover? Yes, Bruce.
Cost of a heat pump system compared to the cost of renewing an old furnace, an old gas furnace.
So I'm going to jump in real quick, just because I have one real practical example, and it's not going to be the same for every excuse me, for every family. Our former colleague Greg had an air conditioner and a furnace at end of life, and he is an environmentalist working for an EnviroCentre, a nonprofit environmental organization. So he did decide to switch out for a heat pump. The cost was the same. So his furnace and his air conditioner were able to be replaced with the heat pump for the same price. Now, I don't know if he negotiated a great price, but I think that's about standard if you're looking at both systems coming towards end of life. The ongoing savings or costs are the same. So he is no longer paying for, he does not have natural gas as a backup heat source. So he is no longer paying delivery charges or all of those fees. So when I, in the summertime, I don't have natural gas, I don't have air conditioning, and I still pay $35 to $40 a month just to have an account. So all of that goes away. And his greenhouse gas emissions were reduced by 75 or 85%, I should say, in his particular case. Chris, you have more to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, pricing for heat pumps right now is sort of all over the map. Contractors are very busy and supply is a little limited. Same reason your new car is more expensive and supply is limited. Same reason your computer graphics card supply is limited. It's a silicone shortage. That being said, exactly what Mel said is, if you're replacing both the AC and the furnace, when you include the rebate, it should be about the same price to replace both with a heat pump or both at the same time, the AC and the furnace, roughly.
The added bonus as well, Bruce, is if you don't have central air currently, by installing a heat pump, you actually do get air conditioning out of that. So, we should just call it like air pump.
And Alistair does raise a good point. Brand is a huge variable for heat pumps right now. Well, always, but right now in particular as well.
Yeah.
And whether you're doing cold climate or not cold climate, there's a whole lot of questions out there.
Yeah, and Alistair's got some good comments there. I was going to suggest as well that one of the outcomes that we'd like to see as part of this pilot and maybe phase 2 and phase 3 is we would like to start and working with the city on this as well, as the idea of bulk buying. So if we're to approach a manufacturer and say, look, we've got 100 folks that are interested in putting in heat pumps, what can you do for us? So these are some longer term plans that we have, that we've been talking about for some time, but that might help. Did that answer your question, Bruce?
Yes, that's very good. Thank you. The short answer then is that the costs are comparable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very long answer to what was originally a simple question.
But Bruce, I can sympathize with you because we found the same, and looking at Mitsubishi Zuba, as somebody put in the chat, the quote that we got initially, it was a cold climate air source heat pump, was over 20 grand. And that was not including, so that would be replacing a furnace and an air conditioner, right? Both of which were on their sort of end of life. That was an install cost, but it didn't necessarily include the upgrade to our hydro that we had to do, which was another kind of $2,000 to $3,000 on top of that. So anyway, I'm pleased to hear that people have more cost-effective solutions to that. And we ended up on a pilot program. And the model that we have right now is a Fujitsu, which I guess is probably a more reasonable priced brand. So those might be things to look into if you get that far. But it sounds like your advisor will have way more options than what we knew of. So.
Well, we don't typically, as an advisor, mention brands. We're not really supposed to while doing an energy audit. NRCan has some pretty firm rules about that. As an HVAC designer, which I guess I'm kind of wearing that hat currently, Mitsubishi Juba is one of their units I recommend the most, especially if a customer, they want the best. It's going to be the Mitsubishi systems. The Fujitsu that you installed is again, that's a very good system as well. I quite like it, and they do tend to be less expensive because everybody's ordering Mitsubishi right now. They've done a very good job of taking over this market for a while. So, yeah.
And Holly, actually, that's a really good point. So that's something that a lot of folks don't think about. Your energy advisor may recommend that you're switching, to a heat pump system, and that electrical panel conversation never really happens because they're not electricians and they're not looking at that. But what I am happy to tell you is that the loan program actually will cover those costs. So whereas all of these incentive and grant programs will give you a rebate for the installation of that equipment, based on your invoice, the loan program's got a lot of bells and whistles that, are going to cover the actual homeowner experience. So, perhaps you're going to be adding insulation from the interior of your home, and you're drilling and filling, and you've got a hole every 16 inches in your beautifully new painted living room. The loan program will cover those costs. The loan will cover the costs of electrical panel or any health and safety measures that you may encounter when you're looking at implementing these retrofits. So just throwing out another plug for the loan there.
Honestly, I like the grants. The grants are great. It's certainly gotten the interest. For me, it's the loan that's going to let me do a lot more of the upgrades and bring my house much closer to net zero. I'm not sure I can quite make it, but it's going to be close. So, yeah. Good.
Well, we'll be touring your home soon.
Yeah. We'll see.
Do you live in one of our neighborhoods, Chris? No.
I'm in Barhaven. I don't think it counts.
No, but interestingly enough, it's funny because I was on a call with somebody a while ago, and we're talking about, when we're looking at Carlington and we're looking at Old Ottawa South, we're looking at older building stock, and those are the most challenging to be able to get to net zero. Yes. But when I look at a community like Barhaven and I think, oh, that's attainable. Actually, we could do some damage in Barhaven and Canada and New Orleans. I think with those houses that were built at that age, they would be easier to get to net zero. Okay, so we're coming up on time. Have we got any other last minute questions, comments, hopes and dreams? Okay. Holly, did you have something?
I just wanted to say thanks on behalf of EnviroCrew. It's been a really, really informative evening, actually. I think no matter what level you were coming to this at, you got something out of it. So we're really excited about this partnership. We're really excited that you picked us to participate, and we're really happy to, promote it and work with you in the months ahead. So thanks for doing this.
I appreciate
We look forward to more.
Good. And Ingrid, thank you again for getting us all together. I really do appreciate it. And EnviroCentre is happy to provide more information as we move further through the process.
Thank you. And if I could just put one plug to everybody on the line, tell your neighbors, spread the word. We do this because we believe in positive peer pressure. So please join our Facebook group, EnviroCrew, spread the word, tell others, and stay tuned. Lots more to come.
Good. So thanks to all of our attendees. Thank you, Chris, so much for being here again with me. I really do appreciate it. Really appreciate those folks who took the time to join us today. If you like the session, don't forget to check out all of our upcoming events and activities that we have to learn about home retrofits and the Future Homes Ottawa project. To stay up to date, please sign up for the Future Homes Ottawa newsletter, and Darren is going to post a link in the chat. So thanks again, everybody. I hope you have a great evening and we all get to net zero.